We asked you about how you see the law. We told you a story of an architect and his workers to assess what you naturally see as the main point. We told you about a servant leader's effect on his followers and an orphan who could not trust her adoption by the rich man. We asked you questions that capture your current core assumptions about the nature of man and spiritual life. We explored what knowledge, truth, and faith is and how they affect your decision making. And from your responses to these stories and questions, you appear to recognize there is more to life than what you find in the physical world, that there is supernatural power and there are resources in the invisible world. Now, while science is always an important source of knowledge, your spiritual orientation implies you recognize that gnosis knowledge and faith play a major role in determining what is true. It seems that you agree with many of the core assumptions we classify as the spiritual before worldview. Many people use the phrase, "I'm only human," when they mess up or have a sense of their own mistakes. You may have used this phrase too, haven't we all? But this is a contradiction in your before worldview. For you, the word only doesn't fit, because you see your identity contains much more than your humanity. You have a spirit too. It's interesting to note that, although your core worldview is spiritual, you primarily see your needs met through what you do. And while seeing reality beyond your circumstances is the primary way you appear to think, you seem to believe you receive favor by what you can earn. Now, while such views allow for what exists in the invisible, supernatural world, they do not recognize ways that grace or unmerited favor can meet your needs. And because of this view, you may not feel thankful unless things are going your way. You have an opportunity to reflect more on the satisfaction that comes from knowing that everything does not depend on what you do. And there are benefits that come to you regardless of what you do, like a beautiful sunshiny day. You are spiritually oriented, but grace does not appear to be your dominant view. Keep this in mind as we continue to see how your before worldview profile influences how you think, feel, and act. Now, while reward and punishment systems demand your attention in many areas of life for you, they do not form the basis for being satisfied. You seem to believe that what you need comes from a connection you have with something or some being that has the power and resources to give you what you need. Your view of life is like a good father that gives his children what they need, regardless of what they do. You likely understand the orphan's delight in her adoption. You would see her error in not relying on the favor of her adopted father and thinking she needed to earn his favor. You could see how she is causing herself unnecessary pain by not trusting her adoption. You may often have a sense of thanksgiving, but to whom or to what are you thankful? The question is, what thing or being do you believe graciously bestows favor on you regardless of what you do? In your life, who is the rich man on the hill who adopts orphans? This may be a missing link to your spiritual identity. You may have turned at some point to religion of some form or another to find the answers to your spiritual life. And throughout the ages, religion has been a controversial topic in how societies function. While you may have heard many different descriptions of religions like Islam, Judaism, Buddhism and Christianity, often communities have a fake or a counterfeit form of religion. Often the theological studies associated with religion fail to cross over the bridge of core assumptions that fit your world before worldview. Many people claim that this search for the source of unmerited favor has led them to become Christians. They have come to the conclusion that, like the rich man on the hill and the orphan, the God of the Bible adopted them into his family even when they chose to live in the trash piles of life. You see, Christians believe God sent Jesus to bestow or provide us his favor, although by our actions we do not deserve it. Like many religions in the world, Christians have been exploited and have exploited and have been persecuted and have persecuted politically. The best way to view Christianity is not as a cultural influence on society. The best way to view Christianity is as Jesus before worldview. This is what is referred to as the mind of Christ. And because you have said that you are not a Christian, either you feel you still have more to learn about Jesus' teachings, or you understand Jesus' teachings and you do not agree with them. You may have studied theology, or maybe you have not had much exposure to religion. That's not the purpose of this course. We deal with the core assumptions here. We mentioned earlier in session 2 that all of us have said many times, I'm only human. Well, one interesting way to view core assumptions is, what would this statement mean if the word only were taken out? This is what Jesus does. He removes the word only from I am only human. And whether you are aware of it or not, you have core assumptions that fit those of Jesus, but you do not identify with him.